Good evening, everybody. This is Lionel, aka Cadaverific, for Friday the 18th of December, 2015. Hope you're good. Hope I'm good. I think I'm good. Okay, bit of a boring day. Some ups and downs. Nothing too major. Nothing I can't handle as the amazingly strange, weird, socially awkward, but funny person that I am. I'm imagining people that know me are cringing, and I'm imagining people that don't know me are like, who the fuck is this guy? So just to give you a heads up, this is just me. I find 3 random topics that are close to me or things that have happened in the world that are of interest to everybody, or things that I know that, because I believe that entertainment doesn't have to just be about funny. You can also share and educate, like Sesame Street or the Muppets or a twisted version of Teletubbies, because that show was twisted. There was a baby's face in the sun. I've met several people that say that freaked them out, okay? So I'm not alone. So I think it's important to just kind of make it a teaching thing, where everybody's learning but laughing, okay? So I've got some things that I wanted to talk about. I found three topics today that I think would be interesting. And one of the things I thought I'd open up with something that, So I'm going to tell you guys a sex story. Because if you know me in real life, you'll know I have stories. They won't be gratuitous, but I have stories of just situations that I've gotten myself in where people just go like, bro, how the hell? And you know what the answer is? You just shouldn't let your penis be a radar, be a compass to where you need to go, because your penis is only after you. Again, it's a shitty roommate. It's the shitty other roommate. It's like your brain. You ever seen the IT crowd? Your brain is the dude that goes, hello IT, if you try turning it off and on again. And your penis is, what's that guy? Noel Fielding, Richmond. Your penis is Richmond. It comes out specifically to do one task, and other than that, it really shouldn't be let out of its room. I nearly said cage, but it's same thing. So let me tell you about let me tell you about the time let me tell you about the time I nearly got arrested for rape and got saved by a 7-year-old. Okay, so this is a real story that happened, by the way. I'm not making this up. So I was in my late 21s. So I was halfway between 21 and 22. And I was seeing this older woman, who had a kid. She was about 29, 30. And it was the second time I'd visited, because the first time the cops had already come for a totally different scenario, which I'll tell you guys another time. This, I love the story. I'm actually tearing up laughing. So what happened was, she got me inside, and we're on the second floor of we're in a complex. Let me set the mood. We're in a complex, one of those gated communities, and it's separated into these different blocks: Block A, Block B, Block C, Block D, and some of the blocks can, they're connected, and some of them aren't. And it's 3 floors, so we're on the third floor, second floor. I think we're on the second floor. Yeah. So same old, I knock on the door after walking there. She says hello. She slams the door, just completely assaults me in the hallway, just really random great stuff, And we move it to the couch, and as we're going at it, I noticed that the lights are off. That was immediately noticeable, which is fine. And the curtains to the balcony, because most South African complexes and stuff will have a balcony for smoking and patioing and braaiing and whatever. But you have that little kitchen window that you have above your sink. Most places have that. Most complexes have that. And what I noticed was that there was no curtain on there. which was fine because you couldn't walk by there, so it wasn't a problem. Like, it wasn't something that you needed to be worried about. So you keep it open. You know, there was a couple of voyeurs or exhibitionists in the room, so it's all good. But what I noticed was out of the corner of my eye, and this is stupid because I really shouldn't have noticed this. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw a flash of red and then nothing, and I was like, okay, that's odd, but I'm just gonna ignore it. And then I saw it again, and when I looked, I managed to see the superimposition of a person, like, you know, a black. You ever see in those movies where somebody shines a bright light and then walks toward their next unsuspecting victim, and you can't see the face. It's a good way to hide the face, but the person doesn't have to hide a mask. Usually, the person who's about to get stabbed or shot or axed has a look of realization on their face of who they know who the killer is before that happens, before they die. So that's what I saw. There was a searchlight on an opposite complex. So her complex faced out towards another complex, like probably separated by about, let's say, like a parking lot. And there was somebody smoking there on an opposite block with a light behind them. So I couldn't see who it was. But I could see they were smoking, and I could see they were like just staring in this window. And I'm like, okay, it's probably somebody from the other complex, you know, came out for a smoke, got a bit of a show. You know, everything's fine there. So we carry on, because who wouldn't? Because I'm 21 and I'm not about to fucking deny myself some older woman like cougar downtime. Like, pfft, hell no. So we carry on, and the guy eventually, or the girl eventually, whoever it was, disappears. And we're fine, you know, so the round one was over and we carry on, and, you know, about 30 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. So she gets up, and, you know, everything cleans up a bit, and then we go to the door. And it's the police. And apparently, like, so this is what happened. She opens the door, it's the police. And she says, yeah, what seems to be the problem? And they say, yeah, we had a call that somebody was being raped in this apartment. And immediately I'm like, oh shit. And now she's pissed. But she's smiling. She giggles because I think she thinks that, oh, we're doing such a good job. The screaming is so much that somebody thinks somebody's being murdered. So she giggles and she says, no, nobody's being raped here. I have somebody with me and we're having sex. And then the cops turn and they've motioned somebody over, and it's her ex-fiance. And she never told me that her ex-fiance stays in the same block of flats, but in a different complex, i.e. the complex that her complex stared towards. So it was pretty much at that point a 99.9% chance he was the person that was looking at us, you know, while we're going at it. So I realized this, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sakes. Oh, shit. And I'm 21, and this dude was like 37. Like, this was a big thing. So the cops motion him over, and they're like, yeah, you see, there's nothing going on. So he says, no, I don't believe it. And she tells the cops that that's her ex-fiance, and he's just trying to stir up shit because he's jealous that she's with somebody else now. And the cops say, okay, we understand that. We agree. However, because this is a serious allegation, we have to come in and make sure that there's no gun to your head or no gun to somebody else's head, to make sure that you're not being raped. So she says, okay, the cops can come in, but he can't. And the cops come in, see me, look around, they say nobody else is there. They want to bring him in to see. Long story short, she says, no, get the fuck out of my place. She closes the door. Everything's fine. So now I'm a little bit shook up and a little bit shaken, but we have some wine and then everything loosens up again. Everything's fine. So I decide, okay, fuck it, I'm going to sleep over, you know, because nothing else happened for the rest of the evening. Okay, nothing else happened. So that was great. So about 7:30 in the morning, we wake up and she lets me up to leave. So I was like, all right, cool, you know, I want to leave now. So I open the door, give her a kiss goodbye, tell her I'll see you again soon, you know, yada yada yada. and I turn the outside stairs because the complex is open up to like full balconies to outside to get down. So I turn, and I go to walk down the stairs, and there he is. He hasn't left since he made the call at midnight. For 7 hours, he's just been there smoking cigarettes. Like, hasn't gotten any sleep. He's just been there. Either that, or he came really, really early to try and catch me. So, yeah. Oh, and by the way, he knew who I was at that point. He knew who I was because when they were together, he and she used to go out with myself and a couple of other friends to go watch live bands and drink and stuff. And that's where her and I started flirting. Nothing serious, but you know. So he just looks up and he says hi, and he says my name, and I reply back with his name, and I say hi. And he takes those stairs 2 at a time, and I back up against the wall. And right now, I'm running through Virtua Fighter, I'm running through Street Fighter, I'm running through Tekken, I'm running through Rival Schools, I'm running through King of Fighters in my head, trying to just plan the most epic button-mashing melee combo that I could do with my actual hands and feet to try and get this person off me so that I can run. Because I'm not fighting educated. So I'm going through all of this cock. I'm going like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And I'm trying to channel Rocky. I've got that theme song in my head. I've got that running in my head. Like, this is gonna be it. It's gonna be the montage of this fight, you know. And all of a sudden, from the left of me, I hear the word "Daddy," and both of us look over. And what I didn't know was this girl's daughter was in another room. I didn't know this. But this girl's daughter was in another room, and she'd woken up to find out why mommy was awake at such a loud time, at such an early time in the morning. And she walked out to her dad to get a hug, and the dad looked at me, looked at her, unrolled his fist and picked her up, and I decided to take that moment and ran away. I ran so hard, so fast, so far. I think my friend's place, I had another pair of friends that were all living together, and they worked at video stores. All of them worked at different video stores, and decided to run there and wake them up at 7 a.m. And tell them this story, and they fucking broke. They died laughing and asked me, please, please, please do not do this again. And, you know, after a couple of more times, I definitely didn't. But, yeah, so that's one of my favorite, that's, you know, let's process all of this. Was I an idiot? Yeah, okay, I was an idiot. I'm gonna admit it. Would I do it again? Probably, you know? And this is the thing. Because as somebody who wants to do comedy, as somebody who considers himself funny, you know, you can do setup comedy, you can do setup jokes. There are comedians that do that. You know, you're gonna get comedians who do setup jokes. But my favorite comedians, the ones I listen to, aren't setup comedians. They're people who they just talk and they just tell life stories. So we're talking about, as an example of a great comedian who's passed, who did setup jokes, was Mitch Hedberg, absolutely fantastic comedian who did setup jokes, but he was absolutely fantastic. But comedians that I love that don't set up jokes are people like Dylan Moran, and Billy Connolly, fantastic example, Billy Connolly. Michael McIntyre also does a bridge of both. I believe a lot of his jokes come from setup, from life experiences that have happened, but he's added comedy onto them. And I always find that sitting down and writing my stuff, it doesn't appeal to me. Like, I never feel like what I do is going to be as funny as anything that can ever happen in life. And the greatest stories, good stories, are what happens to other people while you're around, and then you get to retell it. But great stories, great comedy, just comes from tragedies that you survived. That's what it is. It's the balance of tragedy and comedy. If it's a tragedy if you didn't survive it. You know, it's a tragedy when you and your mates get drunk and you decide to try and steer the car with your feet while standing up through the sunroof. It's a tragedy if you're doing that and you die. You flip the car, you're carved in half, everybody inside dies, your parents have to identify you by your dental records. Like, that's a tragedy. But if you survive, if you do that stupid shit and you manage to live, it's a story that you tell for years and years and years to come. You'll be 40, meeting up with your rat pack from high school, and you'll go, dude, Brent, you remember when you drove the car with your feet and we were going down the highway doing like 80 Ks? Oh, fuck, and then the cops came, but we lost them in the donut shop. Like, that's the story you tell. But you don't tell the story about the cop who then shot you while you were driving the car with your feet, which caused the car to upturn, you know? So this is the thing. Everybody has these stories, and if you want to be the type of comedian that I want to be, you have to just live through these different experiences. And that's why, yeah, I would repeat that again, because from that I've managed to talk for 15 or something minutes and hopefully make a few of you laugh, and hopefully even make a few of you think about those stories that if you hadn't survived would have been bad. But you know, everybody listening has a couple of those stories where you're like, God damn, I was stupid, but man, that was fun, and hell yeah, would I do that again. So you just gotta take that bad with the good, man. You gotta take that bad with the good. Okay, so that was my sex story, just to open up and just to feel a little loose, get everybody in. So now we're going to go on to different topics. Okay, so next one. What should I talk about first? There's two things I want to talk about. I want to talk about movies, basically. The rest of the podcast is going to be talking about movies. But one thing I do want to talk about is there is a branch of movies that I don't think a lot of people know about, and I think people really, really should know about them. There is a director that if you're listening, and if you value yourself a movie follower of comedy, but of learning as well, of deep hitting meanings and just beautiful life lessons, you need to see this. You need to see these series of movies, and it's called The View Askewniverse. And if you don't know what that is, that's fine, because I'll give you somebody else to Google. There is a director by the name of Kevin Smith. If you don't know who Kevin Smith is the director who greenlit, or who helped make Good Will Hunting. He helped put Ben Affleck and Matt Damon on the map, because Ben Affleck and Matt Damon both had the script, and to my knowledge, Kevin Smith was the one who helped this happen. And as we all know, Good Will Hunting is one of the most amazing movies ever. It's beautiful, even though Ben Affleck's Boston accent, I think, was just... And then we had Minnie Driver as well, who was great, and and Matt Damon, you know, just doing that great speech, you know. Yeah, I got a number. How do you like them apples? Fucking just a beautiful, gorgeous movie. And of course, we have the late great Robin Williams, and every line that's, and you know, just the line that's been repeated to so many people during heartbreak. I mean, as you guys know from my last two podcasts, I'm currently going through like something in my personal life, and I've even had people come up to me and go, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault." And you're like, "Yeah, fuck, I know what movie's that from, but like, damn, man, like, you know, it's So yeah, Kevin Smith helped Good Will Hunting get where it is, and Kevin Smith has his own line of movies, and they're called, it all takes part in one universe, because it all carries over. He talks about different things that happen, and they vary from the serious to the small, to the outlandish, to the even more outlandish, but you always learn something. There's always a beautiful, beautiful bridge. And one movie that I want to talk about in the beginning is the actual first movie, Kevin Smith's first movie that he submitted as his film school project, and it's called Clerks. And Clerks is probably one of the greatest movies that I've ever watched in my life, because not only have I watched it previously, and not only did I watch it while in a relationship, I watched it afterwards. And you notice different things from when you're watching it for the first time, to when you're watching it for the fifth time, analyzing it, to when you're watching it with somebody else that you love, to when you're watching it alone, without the person you love. You find different things in every movie that you watch. Not every movie. I'm pretty sure that if you watch Jurassic Park when you're with somebody and you watch Jurassic Park without somebody, you might not fit. You might still feel the same thing because there's no overall hidden messages in Jurassic Park except don't fuck with ancient DNA. But it's one of those movies that I really, really feel a lot of people should watch. So I'm going to summarize it for a bit, and I'm going to summarize why I like it so much and why I think everybody else should watch it. First of all, it's shot completely in black and white because it's a student film. I think it was made with a budget of $20,000 to $40,000. But it's great. And what it has is the overall storyline involves two guys, Dante Hicks and Randall Graves. Dante Hicks, works at a convenience store. And his best friend is Randall, and Randall works at the adjoining video store. And what they do is they just they're both slackers. They both, just do these two menial jobs, and accompanied with them are two drug dealers. Jay, played by Jason Mewes, who's a great actor nowadays and was a great actor back then as well. And Silent Bob, who is played by Kevin Smith himself, the director. And it's clever because he's there, but he plays Silent Bob, a silent character. And how the movie opens up is Dante is on the floor of his apartment, just sleeping, and he gets a call saying that somebody can't come into work and they're asking him to fill in. Can he go there? And he doesn't want to because he has a hockey game at 1, but he wants to, and the guy on the other line, you don't hear the conversation, but the guy basically promises, yeah, don't worry, I'll come and pick up before your hockey game, but yeah, please go to work. So he goes to work and various things happen. And during the course of the movie, his girlfriend comes to visit, and his girlfriend's really, really nice and really, really sweet. She brings him food. She chats with him. She teaches him life she's basically the more educated one of the two. Her goal is to try and get Dante, who is a very intelligent character, to try and get him to enroll in more college courses, to try and enroll in college and not waste himself. And he doesn't, he just kind of goes, I'm going to ignore it, cause I'm kind of content. What he doesn't tell his girlfriend is that he's still in love with the girl that he dated in high school. Still in love with her. He still carries the torch for her after all this time. But he has a woman that loves him completely and thoroughly. Okay? Now, pause that because we're going to get back to that. Randall, on the other hand, is just an asshole, but he's how do you put it? He's a artistic asshole. He's a charismatic ass. He works at the video store. All he does with his time at the video store is just to watch movies on his own time. But he doesn't really care about if he's fired or not. He doesn't care about the customers. He doesn't care about pleasing them. He thinks the world is basically just full of idiots. The world is full of idiots, and him and his best friend are maybe the only two intelligent ones. But when Dante does stupid things, Randall is the first one to say, "You're being an idiot. Stop doing these things because you're uneducated." But when he says it to him, he doesn't say it to him as "you're an idiot." He will systematically break down all the negative traits of the human race, and in the same breath lump Dante in with them. So he never attacks you as you. He'll attack you in the scope of the entire human race, and to do it is beautiful. But here's the contrasting things. Whereas Randall comes off as very pessimistic, just very apathetic to the situations of life. Dante is very, he tries to see the best in everything, but at the same time, he has this torch for his ex-girlfriend, and although he has a good life, he wants a better life. So he wants a better life with the woman who systematically cheated on him, by the way. She was notorious cheating on it. They even he got cheated on. As in, he was lying in a party drunk. He didn't know his girlfriend would be there. She was there. She'd planned to sleep with some dude in another room in the same party. He went up to meet her in a dark room. She went into the wrong door and then mistakenly found out it was her boyfriend she was having sex with, and then screamed. That happened. He got cheated on. Really fucking weird, but beautiful writing. But so many life lessons can come from this because I'm not going to give away like a lot of the plot. Basically, his girlfriend that he had or his ex-girlfriend that he had a crush on in high school, turns out that she's getting married and he has to deal with that in his own way, and Randall goes along for the ride. There's a funeral involved, like it's just brilliant. But one of the things that when Dante is saying, like, I have a girlfriend, but I don't have the girlfriend that I want, and, my life is I work at a convenience store, and my girlfriend wants me to go to college, but I don't want to go to college, but I'm unhappy with where I work, Randall delivers one of the best lines, which is, shit or get off the pot. If you're gonna, and I'll say it again, shit or get off the pot. And for what that means is basically, Dante is the kind of person who will complain about his situation for hours and hours and hours on end. He'll use up all that energy complaining about the situation, but he'll use no energy trying to change the situation in any aspect. And Randall says, if you want to stay with your girlfriend, if you're happy with your girlfriend, stay with your girlfriend. If you want to get with your ex-girlfriend, get with your ex-girlfriend. But don't sleep with one, don't fuck one, and then pine for the other. Be 100% into something. And if you don't want to work here, go get another job. If you do want to, but if you're happy, then work here. But admit you're happy. Stop lying to yourself as well. Shit or get off the pot. And it's a fantastic line. It's fantastic delivery. And you might not expect this because the whole movie Silent Bob doesn't talk, but Silent Bob actually hones it in. Randall brings it all down. He brings it all crashing down on Dante with basically speeches like that. And Dante sits and he leans against the counter and he doesn't know what he's going to do. And, Jay, Silent Bob's friend, calls him a fucker for, a cheating bastard and everything, and then leaves the store. And then Silent Bob is just standing there. And Dante doesn't expect, Silent Bob to say anything. And he looks over and he says, there's a lot of fine ass women in the world, but not all of them bring you lasagna at work. Most of them just cheat on you. And then he walks away. And at that point, it hones down everything. And that's what I love about the movies. And that's what I got from them, both when I was in a relationship and both when I left one. It was basically, I had both aspects. I had the girlfriend that was great, and I had the girlfriend that would bring me stuff, and I had the girlfriend that I wanted to fully be with. And then she also turned into the cheating ex-girlfriend who you're always gonna carry the flame for. But at the same time, you go through the mourning, but at a certain point, you have to stop mourning. You have to shit or get off the pot. Don't sit mourning about your situation. Don't sit feeling bad for yourself about what's happened. Somebody else cheating on you is bad, but it's somebody else taking action. It's somebody else doing something. They're unhappy with you and they went out and did something. Granted, it fucked you over, but they went out and they're going forward. They're moving forward, whether it be onto a string of random guys or a new guy, they're going forward. And although it's bad, what it does to you, it keeps you paused. And when you get paused, when water stops, it gets stagnant. When it gets stagnant, it gets polluted and shit grows in it. And people aren't supposed to be stagnant. People are supposed to move forward. So what this movie taught me from both sides of this is basically shit or get off the pot. You have to be prepared in your life. If something is making you unpleasant and making you unhappy, you have to be able to just have the strength, know that for all the energy you spend complaining, you could be spending that energy doing. And that's an amazing, amazing lesson to learn from any movie series. And that's why from any one movie, let alone an entire movie series. But for made with a budget of $20,000, the whole thing is just absolutely amazing. I highly suggest downloading and watching the movie Clerks. There are other movies in the universe as well. Jay and Silent Bob are actually all the glue that kind of hold all these movies together. There's the next movie chronologically, the Clerks is the second movie, but the second movie chronologically, but the first movie ever made. The second movie ever made was Mallrats, which takes place the day before Clerks. And that has a whole, winning back your ex, theme. which again I spoke to in my previous podcast. You don't Hollywood doesn't outline that when winning back your ex-girlfriend or winning back someone bridges that line between cuteness and, you know, John Cusack with the boombox 16 Candles cuteness and restraining order weirdness. So it's a good movie though. Then there's an amazing movie, Dogma, about angels falling down from heaven with Jay and Silent Bob. Randall Graves and Dante Hicks return again 10 years later in Clerks 2, which is also, again, 10 years later, where have they come from? Where have they gone? Are they happier? Are they still content? I highly suggest watching it. There's a donkey show, you know, with having sex with a donkey. If that doesn't sell it to you right now, you know, you could watch Clerks and then you could watch Clerks 2. And then Jay and Silent Bob, the producer and the producer's best friend, actually have their own movie called Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back. And it's about a comic book that was mentioned, that was written to their likeness in previous other View Askew movies, which I hope if you Google, you'll see the list. The comic book's getting made into a movie and they didn't know, so they didn't get any money, so they traveled to Hollywood. Two drug dealers traveled to Hollywood to try and get, money for a movie. It's absolutely fantastic. I highly suggest everybody go check Kevin Smith, go check, definitely download Clerks and tell me that your life hasn't changed somewhat because you watched the movie. You'll learn something. And I think that's what I want to do. I want to make you laugh and I want to make you learn. And now you've gotten something. So now for the last part, I thought I'd talk about just some things within the Marvel universe that I've picked up are just little inconsistencies in all their movies. And I know when we walk in, we're supposed to suspend disbelief and everything like that. And that's fine. That's fine. But there are things that I found out on the internet that are very interesting. One of the things is about everybody's favorite Caped Crusader, Batman. So basically there was a manual, a booklet that was released a couple of years ago, that teaches you. It basically takes the realism of training, the training Bruce Wayne went through to be Batman, and put it into real world standards. So it's basically a manual on what age you would have to start and what you would have to go through to build yourself to be Batman, to be Batman-esque levels. And one of the funniest things it says is that, you know, the creation of muscle is created by muscle tearing and then more cells going in there so that muscles get bigger. But muscles are only, a building is only strong as the support beams that it lays on. And one of the interesting things, if you take that into that, it means that no matter how strong Batman is, if his bones can't withstand the punch that he's throwing, then they're going to break against somebody else's body as much as the other guy's going to break as well. So what this means is that Batman has to go through bone density training. And there are ways to do this. There are, you know, you can, high impacts can kind of subtly damage bones and then it rebuilds harder and stronger. And everybody knows this because when you break a bone, that section grows back harder and stronger. But one of the things that it says is that one of the trainings, no matter how much Batman worked out his body, his brain is housed in his skull, and your skull is one big bone, including your jaw. And training the rest of your body to be that strong, and go through that much rigorous exercise wouldn't mean shit if Batman couldn't take a punch to the face. And I assure you, Batman gets punched in the face a lot. So they say that one of the things Batman would have to do for one of his training, and if you can imagine this, let me set the scene. There has probably been a scene where Alfred Pennyworth, the loyal butler, has brought down some tea to the Batcave and heard thud sounds, thud, thud, and looked over, and Batman is basically standing there with a very, very heavy punching bag, lifting it up, slamming his head against it. And this would really, really happen. Like, this is what you would need in order to strengthen your head to be able to take a hit like that. You would need to be able, like, your training would just require you to hit your head against things a lot, to train the high impact resistance, to make your skull thicker, to be able to, because if you're not, then it's fine, but you're just Batman with a glass jaw. Like, you could just get knocked out, like Conor McGuire in the MMA fight against the champ. Like, one left hook to the jaw, and that guy went down in 13 seconds. but Connor's out for 6 months because he actually fractured a couple of bones in his wrist from one left hook. Not even strong set, left hook to the jaw. That could happen to Batman. One-shot knockout. But Batman very rarely gets knocked out if they're not superpowered people, and even if they are, he's able to shrug it off, which means Batman must go through intensive training in order to strengthen his skull, which means how much brain trauma has Batman gone through from hitting himself in the head, huh? Suddenly dressing up as a bat and having little kids in tights running around with you is not that bad of an idea when you consider what he does when he's training. It's just to go up and just headbutt a wall. And then, after that, you're going to go, Alfred, it's a good idea. I should have a 10-year-old join me. Master Bruce, I highly advise against that. No, I'm going to get a 10-year-old to come with me. I don't know why he sounds like Sylvester Stallone in Rocky, but, I just assumed because punches to the head and contorted face. Okay, so that's my thing with Batman. Just want to show you guys that little thing. Another thing. In the Ant-Man movie, if you haven't seen it, go see it. Amazing movie. Paul Rudd, amazing. Michael Douglas, amazing. What's his name? Mike Pena, the Mexican. Yo, man, I was at my cousin's, and he was telling me this about some guy with a job. So good. So good. Nearly stole the movie from Paul Rudd. Amazing. But the Ant-Man technology that they use is specifically stated to shorten the space between atoms. So it shortens the distance between atoms in molecules in order to change your shape, to make you shrink, but keep your density. And it said yes, when you're doing this, you're like a bullet. And yes, this was explained and this was allowed, and everybody was like, okay, that makes sense. And when he was doing the bathtub scene, he fell onto the tiles and cracked the tiles. And then Michael Douglas was like, I guess you're stronger than you thought. So he is denser. But then from that point in the movie, they completely ignore it. They completely ignore that he's denser. So he's supposed to be a fully grown dude's weight in the shape of a bullet. And I'm like, or in the size of a bullet. And I'm like, okay. But there are scenes where he's running and he's flipping over, he's grabbing a guy's gun and then shrinking and then flipping over, and the gun only goes down a little bit. It's like, no, that is basically the same as if a grown man pushed the gun down, and he's using it with enough force to jump off in a smaller form. So he has 65 kilograms of force being laid down with 2 hands. That gun's going on the ground, if not cutting through the metal. And that's another thing. He wouldn't be punching. If you're like a bullet, do bullets hit you and knock you out? Are they beanbags? No, bullets penetrate stuff. And if you guys know, most small caliber rounds, most things that the cops are using, they're not pointed like sniper bullets or like empty shells. Like shotgun pellets, they're round, circular balls, and they breach skin because at that speed, they don't care if you're pointy. It's just a thing of force versus resistance. Ant-Man would not be punching guys' jaws and then they would go, I just got punched by a small man, and then fall down. No, they're going to go, Ant-Man's hand is going to go through skin, through muscle, probably through bone, and then he's going to be in the dude's jaw, drowning in blood and bone cartilage because he's like, well, nobody thought this through because now I'm sitting here, I am a bullet, and this dude's holding his face trying to pry me out by my bootleg. Like, that's what's gonna happen. So yeah, they completely fucked that up. And on a separate note from the same movie, they explained that technology, what it was to distance the size between atoms. So at that point, there would have to be a critical size that you could go, where you couldn't go any lower because the electrons would just be kept away from the protons in the nucleus. You wouldn't be able to get the electrons to touch the inside. Like, I'm sure something physicists can tell me, something really bad would happen. So what? You're telling me that, okay, so that's the thing. So I was okay with that. And then Michael Douglas goes off on this rant about how his wife, Janet the Wasp, she broke her regulator and she went subatomic. Like she went smaller. So, and this spoiler, this happens in the movie as well to Paul Rudd. He turns off his regulator and he goes subatomic between the space and the molecules. So what happened to? So are you telling me that now you've also shrunk the guy's atoms, his protons and neutrons and electrons that make him up? They've been shrunk too. So when he does shrink, he goes down to like past protons, past quarks, past photons, and all that shit within the quantum realm into like string theory and stuff. And he gets himself out of it. But the thing is, he's there fully in his human form. He's there. So his atoms and his molecule, his atoms and his quarks and his quantum theory stuff now exists within the string theory realm, but in a much denser form. Like that whole scene shouldn't have happened. In the comics, Ant-Man is also Giant Man. And there's something to do with like ego boosting, or if it was just a Hank Pym thing that had an ego, but Hank Pym was a very egotistical guy, and there was a certain size that he could go to, and there was a certain size small that he could go to, and a certain size big that he could go to. And in the comics, they actually had a battle between him and Mr. Fantastic about who could get like small enough. But the thing is, it doesn't work like that. You can't tell me that the technology exists to shorten the distance between atoms so that you can be as small as this but no smaller. And then 20 minutes later tell a story about how, oh no, this didn't happen in this case. And you probably, because of, Chekhov's rifle, anything that's in a movie. Chekhov's rifle is a concept of if anything is in a movie being said, if the movie producer, if the movie itself is taking the time to say it, it's gonna happen. So, Hank Pym would never tell the story of his wife going subatomic to stop a missile if Paul Rudd's character was not supposed to use that later on. And when you understand Chekhov's rifle, you can then find out things. You see the foreshadows. You don't do the, oh, well, of course, because he said that earlier. Like, no. The minute you say it, like, they can give away the ending to something by that happening. Like, that's just how it is. Like in the movie The Core, where they go down to try and fix the Earth, of the center of the Earth, because it stops spinning. And then he says like, oh yeah, but what happens if the core is thicker or thinner than we thought? And the guy goes, yeah, so what if it was made of cheese? Chekhov's rifle. What happens if we damage the thing? Oh, we have to cut it off and eject it, because if it damages that, it'll damage the rest of the ship. Chekhov's rifle. It's blatant foreshadowing. We're telling you this so that when the crisis happens, we don't have to throw a bunch of mumbo jumbo. You go, oh, okay, that's set up. So that's my problem with the Ant-Man movie. The only two problems that I have with him. Other than that, beautiful movies. So that's my two problems. Number one, atoms and quarks and stuff shouldn't be able to exist in smaller forms within their own realm. And B, you should not be able to shrink them in the first place, because you blatantly mentioned that the technology shortens the distances between atoms and electrons, nothing more. Okay? So you fucked that up there, but other than that, it's fine. Number two, right? What was the other thing? Iron Man's suit, okay? It breaks G-forces and shit, and he's in a metallic suit. I have not once seen, and we've seen inside Iron Man suits, we've seen what they're made of. They're crushable and blah, 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 and he wears a suit. I'm hoping that it's a high polymer shock absorbent suit, because, you're flying at G-forces, you're doing all these things, you're punching with metallic weight behind you and hydraulic systems. What's absorbing all that weight? Because your body can't. You can't fly at Mach 2, Mach 3, and then stop like he does in Iron Man 1. Or you can't make the amazing three-point landings that they all do, where they fly from super heights and then just hit the ground and crack the ground. Have you ever felt what it's like to just jump off a slightly too high wall and land on your ankles and do that bone clack and like shocks you straight to your knees? Imagine doing that while traveling nearly Mach 1 and landing on the ground in a 3-point turn. Guaranteed that suit's gonna crumble, and you're gonna crumble inside it, and they'll be cutting you open with a can opener. But they don't mention how Tony does shock absorbance. I want to know how Iron Man's suit handles shock absorbance. The suit that he wears underneath. We thought it was a suit. No, it's a general t-shirt, because you can see it in the Avengers when he's flying and everything's fine. Then he lands, and then he walks down the ramp, and the fancy machine, yes, beautiful cinematography, fancy machine comes and unbuckles him and blah, 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 blah. It's great. But he's wearing jeans and pants. So it must mean that there's a shock absorbance built into the suit. I'm sorry, I didn't see that in Iron Man 1. I didn't see that. He did that. He had a thing that he was messing with the hand thing, and then he put it on, and then he shot, and then he went and assembled the whole suit myself. It's a metallic suit. There's no shock absorbance in that suit at all. I call bullshit. I call bullshit. Plus, yeah, okay, he has a built-in filtration system for his urine, so he probably has a built-in mouth guard to circulate air, because most G-Force pilots actually feel like they pass out, or they need to, they have to have regulators when they're traveling at that high speeds. So I'm assuming Tony Stark's smart enough to do that too, since he's traveling at the same speed. But still, I want to know what's absorbing his strength at that point. Okay, so going on to another member of the Avenger. Just while I'm here, the Hulk. If you're ever wondering, and I know if you've ever wondered, what is it? Newton's law. It's a Newton's law. It's a law of thermodynamics, conservation of energy. Okay, so the Hulk cannot get bigger, right? But just by concept of laws of conservation of energy, he can't get bigger just by being angrier. And the explanation they have for this in the comics is that the Hulk is able to absorb ambient radiation from ambient gamma radiation, not just from our universe, but from tiny pocket universes that exist. So he's able to absorb the radiation from different planes in existence around him at any one time to raise to one other size. I understand that. I'm completely okay with that as an explanation, because there's microwave radiation going around, there's radio waves, there's all these different lengths of different wavelengths that exist at any one time. In fact, you could absorb light and it could get darker for all I care. It would still be an okay reason. My thing is, why would there ever be a nuclear crisis after that? Because the Hulk can absorb ambient radiation. And gamma radiation, which is like a pretty fucking hectic radiation. I think it's the hectic one, which kills people. He absorbs that and he processes that into excess mass. So you could just have the Hulk, if there's a meltdown in the nuclear reactor, have the Hulk walk in, absorb all the ambient radiation, just go, okay, I took it all in. And I just got a little bit bigger. And now I'm fine. I'm going to shrink down to Banner and I'm going to be A-okay. You could do that. Keeping in mind that Johnny Storm, the Human Torch in the comics, can't do that. He absorbs ambient heat from fire, but then he also has to let it out. It's energy that's going to be released, it's contained within him. There was a scene where the ship they were in space, the Fantastic Four, and when they had to hit re-entry, the ship was broken. So Sue Storm kept a bubble around the ship as it entered, but her bubble wouldn't be able to take that much force and heat, so Johnny had to stand there in Human Torch form and absorb all the re-entry heat so that her bubble could maintain air and G-force pressures inside the ship, and then when they all landed fine, and the first thing Johnny Storm did was light himself up, fly up into the middle of the atmosphere, and just release all that energy in a massive explosion, because he can't absorb it, and process it. It would just be more heat, he has to let it out. But the Hulk can do that. So whenever there's a radiation problem or wherever there would be a nuclear missile, he can, if something is like radioactive material, by definition, if the Hulk was to just turn into something, he could just siphon all that away. So yeah, it could have been the nuclear power plant disaster in China, I'm hoping the Avengers in their universe just sent the Hulk there and he went, okay, cool, transform, and just absorbed it all, So that was just my little thing. Oh, and by the way, Spider-Man can bench press 10 tons. So he taught himself not to turn people into paste. Okay? He can bench press 10 tons. He has the strength equivalent of a spider. But that's not even his best thing. His best thing is just perfect balance. He's perfect balance. You can't knock him over. Spider-Man has perfect balance. That's just amazing. Oh, and I just remembered now. One of Peter Parker's greatest things. His ability to stick to stuff is because of these. He has, lizards don't do this, but he has, or geckos, sorry, but he has these small hooks, and he can alter the electromagnetic properties to be able to let go of something or hold on to something. He once put his hand on Norman Osborn's face and alter the electric potential to rip his face off. This really, really happened. This was Peter Parker. Put his hand on Norman Osborn's face and pulled away, but made it so that his hand will stick to the skin. And we're talking about a guy who can bench press 10 tons, mind you. So with that much stuck to your face and then you're pulling that out, yeah, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. So yeah, this was a very comic booky movie-ish rant for the day, but I like geekdom, I like fandom, and I included a sex story to just get the other people involved. So you know what? You've laughed. Hopefully you've laughed something. Hopefully you've laughed at something. Hopefully you've learned something, specifically with, comic books. And again, Kevin Smith, View Askew Universe, great director, great movies. Highly, highly hope that everybody watches them. So yeah, this was good. If anybody has any questions or any topics that they'd like me to discuss or questions that they'd like me to answer, feel free to leave a comment, like, favorite, and subscribe, and all that nonsense. Share with your friends, share with your family, share with your friends' family, not your family's friends though. Fuck them. And I will see you guys in the next podcast. Have a good evening. This is Lionel, aka Cadaverific.